Hey, what is up? Liron here. I hope you're doing great, and I want to welcome you to my course on how to simplify in watercolor. So in this course introduction, we're going to go over some of the whys. So why simplify, what is simplification, how to simplify, and I'm also going to give you some of my personal advice for how to learn from this course and how to just make the most out of it. Okay, so let's get started. Now I want us to begin with the what. So what is simplifying? And the main way I view this is as reducing or removing. So you're either reducing something or you're removing it altogether. And it can be a couple of things. It can be details. You can reduce the amount of details in your paintings. You can also remove details completely. We can talk about the scope. So instead of painting an entire scene, you decide to focus on a smaller part, making the crop of the scene smaller, so to speak, okay? We can also talk about colors and values. Are you removing the amount of colors and using maybe a simplified color palette? Are you removing the amount of values using maybe perhaps just black and white, or maybe just black, white, and a gray in the middle, making it simpler, okay? Now, lastly, it can be focus. So, as I mentioned, making the scene smaller, you can also decide to pick one element within a scene and focus solely on that. And that is, in my opinion, all of these together are simplification. Now, let's talk about the why. Why do I even want you to simplify? Why are we even going through this course? Now, I'm going to start, I have to, with my personal reasons. Okay, that's the first thing for me, because a lot of it is subjective, and I want to get started with that. So firstly, I would say the reason I do it is because I want to evoke the viewer's imagination and have them participate in the piece of art. And the second reason is because I enjoy it, and these two kind of go hand in hand. I personally love looking at a painting and completing and filling in the details myself. I love to imagine things, and I like when it doesn't spell it out for me completely and fully with all the details. Okay, so I love to participate in that, and that's the thing I want to evoke in anyone who views my art, which is my personal reason for doing that. Okay, now I have a list of notes, all the things I want to talk about. I want to make another good reason is I want to make the process easier for ourselves. The painting process, I want to simplify it. If we can tackle a painting in a kind of a modular way in which we simplify things but still get the whole thing in, it's a good starting point for working our skills towards more detailed and realistic pieces if we choose to. Okay, we don't have to, but if we want to. Now, another very good reason to simplify your paintings and your artworks in general is to make the story or the message of the piece clearer. Sometimes when it's too complex, too detailed, the message can get lost among everything else. Now, this is, again, it can be utilized the other way around, and the mess and the details can be a part of the message, but not always, okay? So sometimes the magic is in simplicity, and being able to convey something in a simple manner is actually superior to kind of trying to cram everything in together. Now, two more reasons that are really good in my opinion is first off, to present reality in an interesting light. As I mentioned, this is something I love, to complete the details on my own, but you can also change things around and present reality in a more interesting fashion. Perhaps by reducing the number of colors, you create a very interesting combination of colors that aren't necessarily realistic but are very interesting. And the last reason is practicality. Sometimes you just need that speed of execution. You may have a time constraint, you don't have too much time to paint, but you want to get the gist of it in. Sometimes you paint plein air, you don't have a lot of time, the sun moves, so you want to get the gist of the scene or whatever it is you're portraying quickly, and then maybe go back and develop it at home. Okay, so this is another really good reason why you want to simplify. Now, an important note, this all comes down to personal choice, personal style. A lot of it is subjective. A lot of the things I'm going to present to you, you may disagree with. That's perfectly fine. Find whatever you enjoy, whatever you like, whatever you want to use, and utilize that. Okay, you don't have to do anything exactly the way I say it, and also it's better if you don't. Okay, really bring this back into what you love and what you enjoy and make it your own. Now, I want you to let go of self-judgment. I think this is key. A lot of people, the main things that stop them from succeeding is just this self-judgment, over harshly criticizing your own art. I want you to focus in the beginning on just creating. Just create. The result is of no importance. I want you to just do. Follow the lessons, try and do more and more and more. If you enable yourself, that growth will inevitably Now let me give you some tools related tips, just very quick. Use fewer brushes. You don't need 20 brushes. They'll just overcomplicate things. Use just two, one small, one big. I also recommend using a smaller piece of paper, okay, and not too small of brushes, okay? So bigger brushes, smaller pieces of paper just helps you to make things faster, make them happen faster on paper, which really encourages simplification. Now, I also want to just mention the minimal palette. Use perhaps just fewer paints, 3 paints, maybe do the split primary palette, which means 6 colors, 2 of every primary, a cool version and a warm version, okay? And one last thing, have on board a water sprayer like this one. You just go tss, tss, and it gives you more time to work at the painting and reduces some of the stress you may feel, okay? It just gives it more life and more time to work with. Now, what are we going to talk about in this course? Just a real quick recap. We're going to talk about simplification principles. This is actually the how-to. I'm going to explain and show exactly how to simplify in a multitude of ways. We're going to talk about digital simplification, which can be an awesome tool for brainstorming and figuring things out along the way. We're going to do some practice sessions, okay? We'll practice every principle we talked about. We're going to do a detailed demo of a bit of a more complex painting, and I'll show you how I simplified it in a certain way. And then we're going to learn from the masters. We're going to review works by old masters, new masters, and we're going to figure out how and why they simplify. Okay, the lens is going to be simplification. So thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you'll find this one helpful and useful. And with that, let's move on to the next lesson.